This is the Audi e-tron S Quattro, the one with even more oomph. Today I'm somewhere around the Stelvio Pass, and for those of you who are sleeping under a rock, e-tron is Audi speak for an EV. Am I shocked to be here?
In French, e-tron means something completely different. This is why VW Group's Polish PR department took a bunch of journalists into the Alps to show us the electric Audi is much better than its French name would suggest. What is the Audi e-tron S? It's a large, by European standards, SUV. It's been a while since I've driven any Audi, so when I saw the e-tron press release, I initially thought this would be the electric Q5, a competitor for the BMW iX3, the Jaguar I-Pace or the Mercedes-Benz EQC. However, when the e-tron debuted, it didn't have any direct competition. The competition is going into production as we speak, and it is called the BMW iX.
The e-tron is really big, but thanks to some styling trickery, at first glance it looks like a much smaller car, like in case of the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which looks no bigger than a compact hatchback, but in fact is a mid-sized crossover. Also, the e-tron looks like a mid-sized crossover, but in fact is a large SUV. These are 21-inch rims, and 20s come as standard. Briefly about the practical stuff, because I'm sure you want to see how the EV performs in the Alps. Yesterday I already drove it around the Furka Pass, and I'll tell you about it later. Keep on watching.
The 660-liter boot even gets underfloor storage. There are shopping bag hooks, levers to fold the rear seats. With the seats down, the boot volume goes up to 1725 liters. In the back, you get a lot of legroom and headroom. I'm 175 centimeters tall, but even taller passengers will sit comfortably back here. The e-tron has almost 293 centimeter wheelbase, so there's place to stretch. By the way, the seat is relatively high, so you're not sitting with knees covering your ears. The door pockets are deep, the armrest features cup holders as well as some storage, and you can fold the middle part of the seat to carry longer items. If I drove here to ski, I could carry my gear and 4 passengers in relative comfort, maybe not the whole way from Poland, but to get to the ski slope from the hotel.
At the time of recording of this review, this is exactly 7 years since Audi launched the Mark III TT with the industry-first virtual digital instrument cluster. Since then, just about everybody has it, including the Polo and the Fabia. So Audi has not 1, not 2, but 3 displays.
The instrument panel can display up to 3 groups of information. Speed and range are always there, but you can add things like sat-nav, trip computer, media, etc. You can control many functions on the driver display using the toggles and buttons on the steering wheel. That's convenient. Less convenient, in my opinion, is leaving cruise control on a separate stock behind the steering wheel. Back in the day, this was common, but today most car makers moved cruise control to the steering wheel. Mercedes used to do it better. Used to, because the new generation Mercs get touch controls which are less intuitive. And then there are 2 displays on the center console. The top display is for the usual infotainment system functions like media, phones, sat-nav, settings. The lower screen is mainly for climate and comfort settings, mainly because this is where hill descent assist, automatic parking or HUD controls are located if a vehicle is equipped in all of these. And if touch screens weren't enough, there's a touch panel underneath with drive mode, ESP, heated windows and hazard light switchgear.
On the plus side, at least there's a physical knob for the volume, but judging by its location, it's for the passenger. The driver has a toggle wheel here on the steering wheel. It's a shame they don't have buttons for the cruise control, but
The door pockets are deep. The glove box could be bigger, but the lid is awkwardly shaped. Storage under the armrest is small. The cup holders are located quite low, but that means you won't hit taller bottles with your elbow. And the gear selector is different. I'll start with the technical data. When the Audi e-tron debuted in 2018, it was the 95 kWh 55 quattro model. For reference, the Mercedes-Benz EQC has 80 kWh batteries. Later, the e-tron 50 quattro with 71 kWh batteries was launched. In 2020, the 55 model got an update, which extended its range by 10 to 20 km to around 400 WLTP. Meanwhile, Audi added the Sportback Coupe variants to its lineup to compete with the BMW X6 or the Mercedes-Benz GLE Coupe, and now there is also the S variant.
The e-tron 50 Quattro has 313 horsepower, the e-tron 55 Quattro has 408 horsepower, and the e-tron S Quattro has 503 horsepower. The torque for this model is 973 Newton meters with boost function. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour takes 5.1 seconds in sport mode and 4.5 seconds in sport mode with boost function.
For 2 days we drove around the Alps, and being on a tight schedule, there was no time to look for a relatively flat road to measure the acceleration. However, in an emergency situation, the e-tron can pick up speed at an alarmingly quick pace.
So, the Audi e-tron Quattro is quick. Unfortunately, this also means it's not very energy efficient. It drains energy quicker than the non-S counterparts. This breathtaking performance means that the range drops from a modest 400 to even more modest 360 kilometers. Is that a problem? Apparently not, and this is why VW took us to drive their EVs in the Alps.
Audi has something that the VW ID models lack, and that's a frunk. There's a lot of empty space under the bonnet, and it's nice to see it being utilized for cable storage.
I don't need cables at this charger, but during the evening stop in the hotel, I may have to have my own cable, and I'd rather have it easily reachable than look for it under all the luggage. This is an Ionity charger. It is quite quick. If your car can take quick charge, like this Audi, you won't be spending much time here. Of course, when the e-tron debuted, 150 kilowatt charging was very fast. Then the Porsche Taycan debuted, which can take almost twice as fast charge as this car, and today even the much cheaper Hyundai Ioniq 5 can charge 50% faster if you find the right type of charger. What does it mean? Audi promises 80% charge in 30 minutes. If you stop once every 300 kilometers to stretch your legs, have a snack, visit the bathroom, half an hour doesn't sound like a problem. I mean, how often do you drive more than 600-700 kilometers in a day?
I spent more time preparing to record my stand-up by the charger than I needed to charge, because driving and charging an EV is somewhat of a strategic exercise. The batteries don't need to charge at full speed all the time, but only within a certain range.
You may get faster to your destination, making more frequent but shorter charging stops. You don't need to charge to 80% or more every time.
Of course, if there aren't enough chargers on your route, you'll have to charge full and hope for the best. This will take time, but the infrastructure is improving. The problem is that also EVs are improving. VW made huge investments in electromobility, but 150 kilowatt charging is basically standard now, and coming to the market are cars which can charge even faster.
Of course, you don't need fast charging on daily basis. If you only drive around the city, you may not even need a wall box, because charging from a regular 230 volt socket, you'll regain about 100 kilometers range overnight. And before you say you live in the city center and there is nowhere to charge, I get it. It's a paradox that a car, which is ideal for the city, requires infrastructure which, well, is available mainly to people living in the suburbs. On the other hand, people living in the suburbs may actually need to drive into the city more often than people living in the city need to move around the city. So, you know, there's always that.
Enough about the electrification challenges. I won't even tell you what's the real life energy consumption, because whatever the e-tron used going uphill, it recouped going downhill. After a whole day of filming and driving yesterday, I got about 25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Audi promises 27 kilowatt hours.
What about driving the e-tron on some of Europe's most beautiful roads? Well, our trip took us from Switzerland through Italy to Switzerland again. Now, the speed limits around here are quite low, and there was a lot of construction work on the way, so we had reasonable energy consumption. Also, as soon as I tried to push the e-tron around these mountain passes, I quickly reached the point where it just made no sense. This is a 2.5 plus ton SUV. No matter how fancy the triple motor quattro system is, physics is a bitch. Fast corners are a no-no, sudden braking, no-no as well. That being said, it's just nice to take advantage of the comfort the Audi e-tron delivers. The VW ID series wannabe futuristic design annoys me greatly, while the Audi is still modern without being obnoxiously weird. Though I wouldn't mind more physical buttons and knobs, but that's just me. I like my knobs. I'm sorry I don't have a proper microphone on the camera, so I'm just talking to a inbuilt microphone. Sorry about that. Anyway, we finished filming on the Stelvio Pass and we're driving down the last 25 kilometers or so. I've recouped, get this, 104 kilometers range, and I'm still going down, so there is still more potential. This is this is unbelievable. It's producing energy. 105 kilometers as we speak.
Price of the Audi e-tron started at 69,000 euro for the 50 variant. The 55 starts at 81,500 euro and the e-tron S starts at 94,000. This test car costs around 105,000 euro.
When viewers ask me which EVs offer the most driving fun, I say Porsche Taycan. For the time being, most other EVs are just heavy bricks which are best in traffic, and the Audi e-tron is like that too, but so are most other regular SUVs. Would I go for the S variant? In my opinion, it's better to focus on the range and spend the money you saved on experiences, like road trips through the Alps. And how do you like the Audi e-tron? Let me know in the comment section below.
If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.